Welcome back to the Sovereign Ratio. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and provide an update on its relationship from price to the Gaussian Channel and the weekly close that we just had above the Gaussian Channel. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and leave me a comment below. For today, I kind of want to paint a big picture of what's happening with Bitcoin. Obviously, we've had a lot of news with Blackrock and Fidelity filing for Bitcoin spot ETFs and trusts, and even a Bitcoin leveraged futures ETF getting approved in the United States by the SEC. Going along with that bullish narrative, I think it's important to go back and provide an update on what we've been talking about on this channel for about a month now, as far as Bitcoin's relationship with the Gaussian Channel and what's happened historically. So here on the weekly chart, I'm going to zoom out and scroll back to 2019 and look at the last time that Bitcoin broke the Gaussian Channel in a bear market relief rally or the end of a bear market. You can see back here, it's like July 1st, 2019, Bitcoin had broken through the Gaussian Channel and then came back to retest it before going on a rally from that retest of approximately 88% for Bitcoin. And if we go back to 2015, zoom out here, you can see that the exact same thing happened. We have a break at the Gaussian Channel right here, came back to actually retest a little bit further. It actually went more toward the EMA 9 than it did the top of the Gaussian Channel, but the top of the Gaussian Channel would have been a safe bet anyway. So if we just had an order sitting there at that position, went on a rally of approximately 22%, but really never dropped below that again. So it actually went on a rally of 121% because it never actually went back into the Gaussian Channel. It held the bull market support band all the way up to this point. So where does that leave us today? Well, last week and the week before were pretty scary. I'm not going to lie. At one point, I did think the mean line of the Gaussian Channel was going to break, but it didn't. Bitcoin held it. And then you can see last week, obviously, I think it's pretty clear now that Bitcoin went on a pretty big rally. I personally got back in here at 25.6 and got out at 29.1, which is a little bit early. So now I'm just kind of waiting because normally what happens is it comes back and retests the top of that Gaussian Channel, and I fully expect it will. And if it doesn't, then I'll keep an eye on that and make a decision accordingly. But that is currently sitting at 28.771, so just say 28.8 to round it up. I fully anticipate it to do that. And also, if we pull up an indicator that I created called the Silver Cross Band, we actually see that the silver cross has occurred as well, which generally has led to big moves. On top of that, if we go back and look at the BBWP is contracted fully on the weekly chart and ready for expansion. And a weekly BBWP contraction to expansion could lead to a gigantic move that would typically follow the direction of the stochastic oscillator, which currently is pointed up and recently crossed up on the weekly. Also, if we look at MACD is now crossing up on the weekly as well. Money flow is turning green. There are just a number of indicators here. The RSI has reclaimed its moving average. There are a number of indicators here leading me to believe anyway that there is going to be an explosive move to the upside, probably sooner than later, because I fully anticipate by the end of the year we're going to have a big retracement from this rally. But my targets right now, there was a big cup and handle pattern here, right? So if we were to just draw a trend line here to that top of that cup, take another trend line from there down to the bottom here, pull that up. When it breaks through that cup and handle, look where it's right where my target line's up here at 47K. My area of interest here is between 37 and 47K. It has been for several weeks now, and it still is. Before this cup and handle was even identified, that was what my target was. So there's just a lot of confluence here. I could definitely see if this trend line right here breaks at like 31 and Bitcoin actually holds that 31K level, I just don't see anything stopping us other than maybe some resistance at like 35. Maybe it comes back down to test that again after 35 and then back up into this box. But there's just way too much confluence with bullishness for me to think anything else. Statistics and probabilities would indicate that there's going to be a move up. Maybe this is the outlier where something happens and it doesn't. Maybe the SEC rejects the ETF and everybody starts selling off, which I don't think is going to happen because of how intertwined the SEC and Blackrock is. I mean, Blackrock practically owns the government, so there's that. Another interesting chart to look at is just to go down to the 5-day. At the 5-day, you can actually see that Bitcoin held the 5-day, the top of the Gaussian channel, which I fully anticipate is going to be the next move on the weekly chart. You can see the stochastic is recently crossing up. The distance between the K line and the D line is increasing as we speak. RSI has reclaimed the moving average, and BBWP looks primed and ready for expansion. MACD is about to cross. Money flow looks like it's starting to flow back in. So it looks good for Bitcoin. I mean, all systems go. I would say in the next 2 weeks, I'm expecting to see a big move up. I say that not from raw bullishness. I say that from what I'm seeing. There's just way too much confluence with everything. Silver cross, holding the 200 SMA, holding the bull market support band, breaking through the Gaussian channel, just BBWP expansion, MACD cross, money flow, RSI holding the moving average, K crossing the D on the stochastic on multiple time frames. It's just, there's too much confluence here. So I guess the real question is Bitcoin going to keep rallying from where it is now? Or is it going to correct and go back down at the top of the Gaussian channel, or maybe even the EMA 9, which is sitting at 28.2? If we have a retracement here, I would not expect price to go anywhere below 28.2. If it does, then I would be more in the bearish category, because that EMA 9 is sitting right there, and Bitcoin loves to hold the EMA 9 when it's bullish, and it loves to seek out the EMA 9 whenever it's bearish. So we're just going to wait and see. I think the next week or two is going to be really big. One way or the other, we'll see something happen. Clearly, it looks like it's going to be up, but you never know. Markets are volatile, and not everything is always the same as it was before. Also to note is that we do have the 100 SMA sitting right above our head at 32.7. So that could be a small point of resistance there, but we can also just use the FRVP to get a little bit of a look here. See where liquidity lies. Let's just go back here. Yeah, liquidity was all down at the bottom. So there's really not a whole lot of liquidity sitting up here to keep us, other than maybe that 100 SMA. So again, you can see liquidity starts to pick up here around that 37K area, a little bit there at 35, 36, but mostly 37 is where that liquidity starts to pick up. So I would definitely expect to see some resistance up here when we get there, if and when we get there, which I think we will. One more thing that's being talked about quite a bit that I figured I would point out is altcoins are not a safe place to be right now. Whereas they may gain on their USD pairings as Bitcoin moves up, they're definitely, in my opinion, going to lose on their BTC pairing. Ethereum Bitcoin pair right here is really due for a correction back here down to like the 0.05 area. You can see Bitcoin dominance is rising as we speak. It's sitting around 51.55%. Most people anticipate that going to 55 to 60, if not higher. But you can see it's hanging on the cliff here. It really looks like Ethereum Bitcoin wants to correct down. And the only place I would want to be right now is in Bitcoin, and maybe if you wanted to try to play Stacks, because Stacks does tend to go up as Bitcoin goes up. We can actually just take a look at that real quick and see where we are with Stacks. It had a big run last week. So I haven't looked at this in a while. On the daily chart here, it looks like BBWP is fully expanded, so the majority of that move is over with. It looks like on the daily stochastic, it's wanting to curve back down. The K line is accelerating to the downside pretty quickly. MACD is starting to turn over a little bit, like maybe it's had enough at this point. So I would say this is in corrective mode. There was 5 drives of stochastic bullish divergence, so it wouldn't be out of the question for it to have a little bit more in it. If we look at the regular stochastic here, just kind of sitting in a downward posture, the RSI did peak out along with the curvature going down on the stochastic. So I don't know. I think maybe a little bit more correction for Stacks is in order. But if it does correct and then Bitcoin goes on another run, I could see Stacks coming down here to the bull market support band around 64 cents. And then maybe at the same time, Bitcoin comes down to test the Gaussian channel, and then all systems go, because Stacks has performed well when Bitcoin's performed well. So if there was an altcoin, it would probably be Stacks, and I probably wouldn't put a whole bunch of money into it, but there's a possibility that Stacks could go on a run if Bitcoin goes on a run. So hopefully that was helpful this week. Just keep an eye out on this weekly Gaussian channel to see what happens with Bitcoin and plan your trades accordingly. If you found the video useful or helpful, please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate everybody coming by and checking out the videos. I'm looking forward to some extra growth on the channel. If you enjoyed the video itself, please hit the like button as well. Leave me a comment. I'll happily reply whenever I get a second. And I appreciate you coming out. Safe trading.